Okay, big challenge this week down on the lake in front of our fans. Another AFC North opponent. Really good football team, 2-1 football team. So we know that there's a big challenge when you're facing the Baltimore Ravens, and they have good players, they have good coaches. It's a unique scheme, really, on all sides of the ball, but really well coached. So this work week is really important. We have to have great meetings, great practice, et cetera, when you're facing a team like this. Offensively, unique challenges, with Todd Monken coming in. So new coordinator, I think Coach Monken's outstanding. They're doing a lot of really interesting, tough things to cover in the back end. And obviously, with Lamar, always presents all sorts of challenges for a defense, but really good players across the board. Defensively, ton of respect for what they do, how they do it. Can be aggressive, can play coverage. They have playmakers really at all three levels of the defense. Really good football players. And then special teams, you're going to get an honest day's work versus a Coach Harbaugh team when it comes to teams. So really got to be about our business. But looking forward to the challenge. And with that, I'll take any questions.
How has their new offensive scheme changed what Lamar does, or has it really adjusted? What he does.
Yeah, I think there's a few big differences, and then there's a lot of similarities to what they've done before. They've carried over certain elements of their offense that will look very similar, and then there's other elements, especially with some of the personnel groupings, that are very different. But he's getting the ball out on time, accurately. His completion percentage is very high, and I think that speaks to both the coaching and the player doing a great job in that scheme.
Murray said that if he sees something during the game, he'll tell you, and then you'll call it. How important is that, or why do you think that's important to kind of listen to your guys, and then just that overall communication between you, the receivers, and Deshaun?
Yeah, I think that's something that we've always done. I tell you guys all the time, those players have the best seat in the house. That they can see it better than we can. And Amari is a very intelligent player, so it's not like he's just coming up and saying, get me the ball, which he has done before. But he can give you great insight into the routes that he thinks we should run and how we should run them, how we should set them up, those type of things.
I was going to ask you a follow-up on that, Kevin. Do you have to filter that out? Not necessarily with Amari, but, give me the ball, or how do you filter out what's fact and what's greed?
That's our job. And we have guys that want to help. That's what it is. They just want to be helpful to the attack, helpful to the cause, that type of thing. But I've been around a lot of receivers and tight ends, and everybody wants the football. That's how you want it to be. But it's great when you have guys that also can give you insight into things that they think might come open.
To be getting Greg Newsome back in practice today.
Yeah, Greg worked really hard to get close last week. Mary Kay just ultimately wasn't close enough, so felt like we should rest him last week. But he's playing really well for us. Big part of what we do, having the versatility to play inside and outside. So we're excited to get him back.
Communication between Amari and you, but Amari and Deshaun, that constant communication on the sidelines and in practice, how important is that to continue building this offense up?
Yeah, I think there's so much nuance to offensive football, and I think there's so many details when you're talking about route running, and Amari, for my money, is the best in the business when it comes to route running. And for him to explain to the quarterbacks why he's running a route a certain way and what he's going to do at the top of the route or what he's going to do to set up a defensive back, I think that goes a long way to put comfort in the quarterback that he can know when to let the ball go.
You've been really creative in trying to get Elijah Moore's hands on the football, whether it's in space or whatever. While the numbers might not be all that impressive, just from a coaching perspective, how do you feel that is gone in what he's trying to give you?
Yeah, I would say it's game 3, so there's certain things that you want to grow. There's certain things that you're trying to set up for later. You're trying to make yourself hard to defend, but ultimately we think very highly of number 8. And like I've told you guys before, I think he's good outside, inside, backfield, really anywhere you put him. So just a player that when you're going into this week, that Baltimore is somebody wearing number 8 jersey and following him all around the formation. And they'll have certain calls when he's here and when he's there. So just always trying to grow those packages, but also recognizing that things evolve over the course of a season.
Looks like Jadavian is playing really well for them. What are you seeing on film with Jadavian so far?
Yeah, I think JD, the entire front, very, very disruptive. They do a really nice job, Mary Kay, in the run game, on the edges, being penetrators inside. Pass game, they can give you a variety of different looks. So they have a bunch of different guys that can hurt you, but he's doing a nice job.
And this comes under the category of we always have something to complain about. So
Okay.
the 2.5 yard rushing average, you pounded it like 30 times, different ways. Is that at all upon film study a source of concern, or was that
From
just
this last game, it was 2.5?
Yeah, the Tennessee game.
That's a very good run front. We knew that going into it. That's kind of where I'd put it. I didn't even know what the number was, but you're trying to be balanced. You're trying to find ways to move the football, but each game is different. And there's games you go in and you say, okay, this is going to be a challenge. We're going to stick with it. We like our matchups here. We like this type of run. But every game plan calls for a different set of schemes, if you will.
I was thinking, first game without Chubb, was there an adjustment to the whole run system?
Well, I think any adjustment would be gradual. We ran our plays. Again, when you're going up against a front like Tennessee, I think they were number one against the run last year. I don't know what their numbers are this year, but there's certain things that you're going to do, and then there's certain things that you're not going to do. And I think that goes without saying this week. I think this Baltimore defense is really, really tough. I think Coach McDonald does a great job of tying in rush and coverage. There's a variety of things that you have to be very aware of. So it's our job as coaches to look at it and say, okay, where do we want to, what do we want to lean into? Who do we want to lean into from a personnel standpoint? Those type of things.
Kevin, when it comes going back to guys wanting the ball with David and Njoku, it's been a little bit of a slow start catching the football this season. But how have you seen him kind of grow and kind of embracing kind of whatever role you have for him, even when the ball's not coming his way?
Again, I'd say early in the season for making looking at it in terms of catches. But he's made a huge impact for us already. I think when we're having success on offense, he's very close to why we're having success. He gets a ton of attention from defenses in the pass game. He does a great job competing in the run game. I can think back to a few plays in the last few weeks that are only having success because he's at the point of attack. So he's a very, very complete tight end in terms of number of catches and those type of things. I think all of that comes over the course of a season.
We saw Kareem's not practicing today. Is there anything concerning about this week? Or?
No.
4 games, you've defensively done a pretty good job against Lamar Jackson. I know it's a new defensive coordinator and scheme, but can you do some carryover and still be able to feel confident and continue?
Yeah, it's interesting because, they have a new coordinator. We have a new coordinator. A lot of new players on both sides of the ball. So we obviously have there's coaches that have been here over those games like you mentioned. So we talk about it, but this is a 2023 matchup, Ravens versus Browns. So I don't know how much you can go back and look because things are so different on both sides. Having said that, you take every available amount of information that you previously have going up against these guys as you put your game plan together.
Kevin, you talked about, kind of off of that, talk about the aggressiveness this defense, your defense plays, defensive front. How do you balance that aggression and aggressiveness with, obviously needing to be disciplined with a guy like Lamar who can, is so elusive and can turn what looks like losses into big games?
Yeah, I think you have to play your defense, certainly. So you have to play your style of defense, recognizing that Lamar's a great player. He's going to make plays on Sunday. We know that. It's just a matter of how much you can try to slow him down, try to limit him, play your style of defense, be sound in what you do, but also ultimately recognize that this is a great player that we're talking about.
Kevin, Deshaun and Amari talked about the value of those early completions that you guys had. How much have you talked to Deshaun about that? And was it an adjustment from kind of how he played maybe earlier in his career?
I don't know that it's an adjustment. I think every game you're going into, you're trying to get the quarterback in a rhythm, trying to get completions. Sometimes they can come in a variety of different play schemes, if you will. I think a lot of it is matchup based and what we're trying to accomplish early in games. But every game you're going in trying to get your quarterback completions if you can.
Assuming that Odell plays for them this week, what does he bring to the table for them, and what do you have to worry about?
Yeah, great player, very, very, very good ball skills, as we know. Can win contested catches, can dangerous with the ball in his hands. They have a really nice wide receiver core. Adding Zay Flowers to the mix of the guys that they already have, I mean, it's an impressive group.
Kevin, obviously they were without J.K. Evans, but with Lamar running more to the last couple of games, how does that affect you guys defensively?
It's really tough when you're facing a running quarterback, and I think teams, when they're facing us, understand that there's plays that they're never over because these guys can get out of trouble, they can extend plays, they can run. So you have to be so disciplined in what you're doing, whether it's man, zone, pressure, not. You have to just be ultimately disciplined in your rush lanes, disciplined in what you're seeing, because he is a major threat with the ball in his hands.
They've had so many injuries. Have they changed, like, stylistically on either side of the ball, given the amount of injuries they have?
I don't know. I mean, I think with a new system, new offense coordinator, that's the biggest differences I've seen, but I don't know that I could say they've changed stylistically based on injuries.
Other than the numbers for Deshaun, which resembled his former self, did you see things on the field that resembled the quarterback that you were acquiring?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he played at a high level. I see him playing at a high level at practice. I've seen it in games, so it's just a continuation of the work he's putting in.
Kevin, the one late in the first half last week that Anthony almost picks off at the goal line, is that an example of just the work that he does to be ahead of everybody?
He played really, really well last week. He plays well for us all the time, but I thought he played as good as I've seen him play in his career. So smart, and that play that you're referencing is a great example of Ryan Tannehill looked completely the other way. Did a great job. You tell quarterbacks eyes away, and he went hard eyes away, and Awalk didn't bite. He didn't buy it. He stayed in his lane and got a hand on the ball. I think Denzel had good coverage on that play, but it was a great example of the quarterback. Young players, you'll see the second the quarterback puts his head that way, they'll go. And Awalk kind of knew what was going on, knew the coverage, knew where number 10 was for them, and did a nice job getting his hand in the window.
Do you see he and Sione playing now without thinking about the injury?
I'm sorry, one more time.
Do you think he and Sione are playing now without thinking about the injury or what?
I do.